Hey everyone, Metagross Freak here with my personal EDH deck for Magic the Gathering. It is a red-green deck. Technically, I guess that makes it Gruul by Ravnica colors, but I guess you could also describe it as being a Tarka or a Xenagos deck, just based on their colors and the theme of the deck. Um, I personally titled the deck Death by Subsidence, and in case you don't know what subsidence is, it's essentially a gradual caving in or sinking of an area of land. This can be especially problematic when you drain water or oil from the ground, causing basically a cave to form, and then the foundation breaks and everything falls into a sinkhole. And it's kind of a play on words, not only because landfall is a massive gimmick in the deck, but also because the biggest weakness really of the deck, because it's green red, is blue mana. So just like with actual substance, water is a problem, or I guess the changing of water. Looking over here at the mana curve, right over here, I have a big spike in mana around the 3 and 4 area, with a total of, each one is about 18.3%. So we're looking about 40%, roughly 40% of my CMC being in that 3-4 mana range. There's also a fair amount in 6 and 2. Most of my 2s are instants and kind of smaller characters, smaller creatures that is. I do have a couple in the 1 and 2 though that are X costs. We'll be getting to those in a minute. But I just wanted to kind of show kind of a little bit of an overview first before I go to some specific things. I've divided this, right now I have it under creature, land, enchantment, sorcery, instant, planeswalker, artifact right in here. And on the other tab I have it broken up by keyword, like trample, landfall, tokens, etc. So I just want to cover a little bit here before we move on. Now, like I mentioned, this is a deck of my own design, though I've gotten a lot of help from 3 of my good friends, and so it's got a good amount of work into it. I've been working on this for the better part of about a year and a half, and I'm really proud of the state it's in now. I don't think I could add any other cards in except maybe something like Vigor without taking out a really powerful card to try to improve it. The current commander is Mina and Den Wildborn, which is a phenomenal character, a phenomenal creature to have as your commander, because it's a landfall deck. It, for only 4 mana, allows you to play an additional land on each of your turns, and its 2-cost ability can be used multiple times to return lands you control. And not only do you get to add trample onto creatures, but if you're able to play those additional lands, you're able to get more landfall. It's just a phenomenal card. That being said, land makes up 40% of the deck. We have 16 basic forests, 8 mountains, and a good number of cards that are either a combination of red and green mana, or are just variations, like, for example, Forgotten Cave, which is basically a mountain, but gives up the term basic land mountain in exchange for cycling. There's also a fair amount of creatures, 27 in total, 28 if you count the commander, because basically the idea of the deck is to you summon small creatures to protect you long enough for you to get your big creatures out, and then once you get your big creatures out, you start landfalling, and that just spirals you into utter chaos, destroying things. We don't have a lot of artifacts and instants, or we don't have a lot of artifacts and instants. It's not a big instant-heavy deck, as you can tell from the fact that red is just under 25%. So it's kind of no so big surprise to me that there's a lot of instants. Most of the sorceries we have are utility cards to get more lands for us, and the 3 artifacts we have are designed to accelerate our game. As you can tell, there are 6 planeswalkers in the deck, 3 of which are Nisas. So unfortunately, we only will have one of those out at a time, but each Nisa is very good for the deck, and so really there is no bad Nisa. Having either one of the 3 Nisas in the deck out on the field is going to give you a huge boon to basically just get you moving. So I'm now going to basically there's the deck list, the entire deck list right here on the screen. I'll give you a second to screenshot it or to pause it, and now I'm going to switch over in a second to basically breaking it down by keyword, going through basically with the different things that make it great. And over. Okay, so we have some of the sorting of none here is a little ironic, considering we have trample right here, and then archetype of aggression gives trample. Okay, so some of the big things in the deck, of course, are trample. We have landfall effects, things that give 1/1 counters, as well as a number of other things, like we have a death touch, we have a rush, sorry, blood rush, we have devotion, but even here it says Xenagos is 1 with devotion. We also have we have, of course, where is it? You know, it's an odd sorting, because we have Xenagos, God of Revels, under haste and devotion, but both Perforos and Nylea are in the deck, and they aren't here under they're here under indestructible, and they even have the word devotion, as you can see in the card, and yet it doesn't show up there. So this isn't as really reliable as I want it to be, but I just want to show you kind of the idea of what kind of things you're getting into with this deck. Massive number of cards that either give trample, like Archetype of Aggression, or Nylea, Goddess of the Hunt, things that give trample, or creatures that just have trample. We have there's a good number of cards that have landfall effects, like, for example, like Eternity Vessel, Zendakar's Royal, Retreat to Kanzandu. But at the same time, we also have a lot of cards that can fetch lands, and that's really helpful. There's also cards like Mosswort Bridge, which I consider to be kind of like a fetch, because it has its hideaway effect, which is pretty great. There's not a lot of sacrifice in this deck. I think basically Naya, Panorama, and I would consider Rebel Hulk to be the only 2 cards that really sacrifice in the deck, and that's because I'm not big on getting rid of little creatures. I know quite a few people, especially one of my good friends, who would rather have a deck of all 2 and 3 cost cards, where it's like you pay 1 mana to get this like 1/1 creature that you sacrifice for 2 mana. That's great. If that's how you want to run your deck, that's fine. That's not how I prefer to run my deck. And so I went in a different direction. So enough of these, enough of the keywords that aren't even really all that accurate. Let's go back to the grouping page for Death by Subsidence. Also, if you want to check out my deck, you can look at it here at tapped-out.net/mtg-decks/death-by-subsidence. Check it out, and I will go through individual cards. So if you do not want to listen to different cards and why I put them in and why I think they are a good addition to the deck, thank you for watching, and I hope that this deck inspired you to make your own landfall style deck. And if you have any suggestions for cards to switch out. Say maybe putting in like, oh, I would switch out, I don't know, something like Primordial Hydra for this card. Go ahead and leave that in the comments. I'm actually curious to see what you would suggest, but please don't give me like a list of like 20 cards. Like maybe like one or two is appreciated.